Am I the idiot for pouring my husband's sweet tea down the drain and marching out? I lost my part-time job due to COVID and I've basically become a little housewife. I'm fine with that, as that's always been my role in my relationship anyways. It's just less hard to keep up with now. I'm also in nursing school for nursing, but obviously I'm doing that from home. My husband works full-time and works hard. His commute to work is very long, over an hour each way. We go running together every day, and because I know it's a lot of stress for him, we meet 20 minutes away from our home so he doesn't have to come home and drive back out. He calls me when he's 20 minutes away, and I leave. Today, I was 7 minutes late as I had to turn off all the lights and get myself together before leaving the house. When I got there, he copped a major attitude with me for being late, refused to even speak to me for being 7 minutes late. I tried to explain that I had to put my shoes on and turn out the lights, but he wouldn't talk to me. The run was very awkward, and when we got home, he said that he felt he had every right to be angry and stomped off upstairs. I've had a lot of pent-up feelings about the fact that he has always expected me to be at his beck and call. It's like he thinks the whole world revolves around his time schedule because I lost my job. Anytime he's hungry, thirsty, he yells my name. He doesn't even serve his own plates anymore. It's like he thinks I just sit in the dark with my hands folded, waiting for him to call. At this point, I knew he was being ridiculous, and I was just so upset that I did something that may make me an idiot. When he came downstairs, I told him that he could make his own dinner, his own lunch tomorrow for work, and I looked him straight in the eye as I poured the pitcher of sweet tea I make him every week down the drain, and I said, "You can make your own freaking sweet tea too, you ungrateful brat." And I walked out and drove to my mom's house. So, am I an idiot for that overreaction? I was just so annoyed. Update. I deleted my edits because I wanted to do an update, as I see a lot of kind, wonderful people so concerned about my well-being. I want to thank each and every one of you for being so supportive. I don't have any friends anymore, and all the messages and comments have made me feel like I have a support group. For now, I am staying with my parents indefinitely. My mom is helping me write a list of all the reasons I'd want to stay, and all the reasons I'd like to leave. I have always been a very independent person, and I think I've been lying to myself about my situation for a long time. I called him to tell him I wouldn't be coming home, and he didn't really seem to care much, which did hurt a lot. Either way, I am going to get through this and I'm going to get my degree. For those of you concerned about kids, don't worry, I have an IUD. Again, thank you all so much. Your love and support means more to me than I can express. So, it's been a few days since my original post. Everyone was so kind, helpful, and supportive. I received so many messages, and I want to thank each one of you for them. They meant more to me than you know. Well, I've left my husband, and it really wasn't over this one incident, but really a build-up of many. Before I even made the post, I wasn't completely blind to what he had been doing in terms of control. As weird as it seems, sometimes I just forget I am an adult and I don't have to just say yes sir and listen to any man that's older than me. I'm an adult now. I make my own rules. I feel sick saying this, but I realize I have been viewing him as a parental figure and not a partner. It kind of makes my stomach twist to even type that. But that is what it is. I don't really want to analyze it right now, it's too gross. I'm honestly going through a really tough grieving time right now. I feel like such a failure. What's worse is that he does not care in the least. When I called him to tell him I was leaving, he said okay. Let me know when you want to grab your stuff, we can have you move out ASAP, and that was it. That was all he said before he hung up the phone. I'm really hurting. I loved him so much, and I think part of me just wanted to see if he was willing to fight for me and apologize. He was not, so that's that. But, although I'm hurting, I feel free. My mom has welcomed me back. She's so happy I am divorcing him. I got together with my friends who he wouldn't let me see. I watched TV shows he told me were too childish. And I've been wearing ugly sweatpants and oversized shirts that he always said made me look like a man. So thank you, all of you. I got a wake-up call I desperately needed. I don't even want to be a housewife. I never wanted that for me. No hate on anyone who does. Honestly guys, it was hard and lonely work. I am going to get my RN, and then move on to my master's. You've all encouraged me in the best way possible. Not an idiot. Good for you. Please get legal advice now before you move your stuff. Return the key, especially if the house is marital property. Not a lawyer, not sure if it matters, but I would want to check with a lawyer first for that very reason. Don't let him get out of this marriage with more than his share just because it's easier now. You may regret it later, and you deserve to start this new phase of your life with your head held high. Would you have left this awful husband? Let me know in the comments below. Now, you won't want to miss the next story. Would I be an idiot if I stopped baking cookies for the retreats that have come to expect them? I work for a quilt shop part-time, and once a month we have quilting retreats. Over time I've started to work more at the retreats, and it's come to the point where I cook for the retreats and the owners reimburse me for ingredients with the exception of the batch of chocolate chip cookies that I usually make for free. Not to brag, but I make some damn good chocolate chip cookies. The recipe is secret and it took me years to get the way I want it. The cookies have become a staple of the retreats, and the owners have started telling people about the cookies to convince them to buy a retreat spot. I don't get paid for baking these cookies, and I don't even get reimbursed for the ingredients to make them. I started doing it just because I liked baking them and giving them to people. It was fun at first, but now when I walk into the shop on retreat times, I get bombarded with, "Oh, did you bring cookies? Where are the cookies?" I can't tell you the last time I got a "Hi, how are you" from any of the retreaters or the other staff that work solely on the retreats. Half of the people who come to the retreats don't even know my name. They call me Cookie Lady, despite being reminded of my name several times. This month I've got a friend in town and told the owners I couldn't cook for this month's retreat. When one of the other retreat staffers heard this, they said, "We will miss your cookies. Not we will miss you or even have a good time with your friend." I feel like at this point my entire worth to them is placed in the damn cookies, and I don't even want to bake them for them anymore. I love baking, but part of that love is experimenting with other stuff, and the one time I brought brownies instead of my cookies, I got bitched at. I feel forced into making them, and it's not fun anymore. I don't even get paid to make them, but suddenly it's expected of me, and it gets me nothing but stress and hurt feelings. So, would I be an idiot if I stopped baking them and just told people to deal with it? It's been more than a year since my original post. As a number of the comments suggested, I ended up talking to the owner of the shop and telling her that I wasn't going to bake cookies for the retreats anymore. I told her I felt belittled and disrespected by her behavior and that of the retreaters. Her response was basically, "They expect the cookies. What do you expect me to tell them? They're not going to want to come to retreats anymore. You should have never baked them at all. This whole issue is going to be bad for business." I went home feeling completely invalidated. She completely gaslit me. I read and reread some of your commands multiple times and decided to stand my ground on this. She didn't threaten to fire me or anything. Not that she could if she needed me. But she continued to guilt trip me and try to manipulate me into baking again. She even had some of the retreaters come to me offering me money to bake for the retreats. At this point it wasn't about the pay, it was how people were treating me. I refused and started applying to other jobs because I was sick of the environment. The thing is, I'm actually a licensed pharmacist. I was working for minimum wage at a quilt shop because I was burnt out in an oversaturated and overworked field. I was depressed because I was a doctor of pharmacy, 8 years of college completed, and I didn't feel mentally fit to work in that field because of my mental health. I worked for this quilt shop for a year. I learned some things, got a break, and regained some of the mental health I lost. This cookie debacle was the push I needed to regain my self-worth and go back to the field that I wanted to be in. Within a month I found a job as a pharmacist at a federal prison. I loved it from the first day. I've been there a year now and I love every day of it. My job has meaning, my coworkers are awesome, and every day is a new experience. It took a few months, but I got my baking mojo back. I'm known throughout the prison by my actual name, and people come to visit the pharmacy for some cookies or whatever baked goods I decide upon, and they stay for conversation. I found a job I love and a group of people who appreciate my baking and don't use me as a cookie slave. Thanks, Reddit. You guys are awesome. Not an idiot. Baking for coworkers is such a weird thing. I used to bake a lot when I was single. It was a hobby and I had the time for it. So naturally I brought my goods to work since I didn't want to eat 3 dozen cookies by myself. Everybody loved them and I was happy until one day I overheard some coworkers talking about how it was weird that I baked so much. Weird. Maybe because I was a 27-year-old guy at the time. I was surprised and annoyed. If it's so weird, why are you stuffing your face with my weird cookies? After that I was like, frick this, and completely stopped bringing baked goods to work. Of course those same coworkers asked why, and I told them I just didn't think it was appropriate anymore, and that was that. Anyway, I love the outcome to this story and wish you the best in all of your baking and non-baking endeavors. Now for the next story. Am I the idiot for shutting down black names because I think it'll make life harder on my kids? My husband and I are having a baby. I'm mixed race, half black and half white. My husband is black. We don't know the gender yet, but my husband prefers names that most people would call black names for boys. Names like Trayvon, Devont, Marquis, etc. I grew up with a name that is tied to black culture and hated it for most of my life. I go by a shortened form of my name professionally, D for Denasia, because I have seen how people react to my government name. I am sure I have been passed up for jobs because of how people perceive my name. My husband has a name more commonly used for white boys, Jake. He wants a strong black name for our son because he never had that and believes that giving him a white name to avoid racism isn't helping anyone. I don't disagree, but don't want to use our son as a test dummy to change that. This has become a battle. I know that we both need to agree on a baby name, but am I the idiot for writing off all black names? Update. I posted a month ago about a dilemma my husband and I were having with our baby's name. We had already decided on a girl's name because it honors his mother, but we're stuck on a boy's name. My husband thought it was important for our son to have a name strongly tied to Black American culture. I wanted a more neutral name since I am biracial and grew up with a stereotypical black name. We found out we are having a boy and decided on his name. His name will be Miles Trayvon. We thought it was a perfect compromise. My husband's family tends to use middle names a lot, so he'll probably be Trey to most of them. When he's in school, his name will just be listed as Miles, last name. He can officially be Miles T, last name, if he doesn't want to use Trayvon, but he can also easily go by Trayvon if he feels more connected to that name. This option gives him the choice, which my husband and I agreed was important. My husband hated growing up with a stereotypical white boy name and said it caused some ribbing from people in his community who saw him as being less black. He talked about how an 8 Mile Eminem's character says something like, "This guy's a gangster." His real name's Clarence. That's not to say my husband ever wanted to be a gangsta. He's an actuary lol, but he said he felt like his name played a role in further isolating him from his black peers growing up. I had the opposite experience. My mom is white and my dad is black. They decided on a stereotypical black name and I think it made my life harder. I go by a nickname and I do it personally as well. When talking about it with my husband, I realized it started early. I remember being about 4 and being out with my white grandma. A woman came up to me, touched my hair, told my grandma I was beautiful, and then asked what my name was. Instead of saying my real name, my grandma said, "Her name is Daisy." I attended an HBCU and finally felt comfortable with my given name, but noticed a lot of seniors with black names use shortened versions of their names for job applications. For example, Raquin Smith would put Ray Smith, DeMarcus Jones would put Marcus Jones, Keshonda Nelson would put Shauna Nelson, etc. They said you had to play within the system and I did that. Anyway, sorry for the long update. I just wanted to explain why this was such a big deal to both of us. We didn't really get deep into it until after I posted here, so thanks for encouraging that dialogue. Before anyone says it, I do realize some people will connect Trayvon to Trayvon Martin. That's not why we are using it. I posted about this in Namenerds and a lot of people were upset by it, but I don't mean to offend anyone. It's a family name on my husband's side. No idiots here. You both have perfectly valid points. Why not give him one as a first and one as a middle name? That way they'll both be his legal names and he can make his own choice when he's old enough to understand. No idiots here. Both have valid points. Maybe suggest a name that has a strong association with proud, powerful and inspirational black figures, but that isn't, for lack of a better term, definitionally black. Like maybe Nelson or Martin or Malcolm or Desmond or some such.